I'm Johan Kapp from Times3 Technologies. First of all, I would like to welcome you to our webinar on Sage People 300. So just to position it first, Times3 Technologies, we are an implementer of Sage products. We do implement Sage X3 ERP, we implement Sage 300 People, and we've also recently started to implement Sage Intact. We have got offices in Cape Town, Johannesburg, and Durban. So we service all of those regions, which is really cool for support purposes. And we're about 50 people in the organization. We've also been named one of Sage's top business partners in Africa and Middle East for a few years running. To get the structure right for today, first of all, I'm going to do a bit of an intro and chat about some of the challenges that you guys face. I think the reason why you're attending today is also to get more info on HR, payroll, employee self-service, and the product, because you are struggling with a few things, and we can hopefully help you to address some of those issues. After that, I'm going to hand over to Jackie Cullis from Sage. She will be handling the product demonstration, and she'll show you all of the functionality that will address these challenges. And then we'll wrap it up at the end. So when you're thinking about investing in software and when you're spending money on software, an important thing is you want something out. And I thought of the comparison or the example of Nashua, what they did. I think that still sticks with us today, where they say saving you time, saving you money, and putting you first. So that's really what we as Times3 Technologies want to do with you. For you, actually. If you implement new software, we really want you to save time and use that time for more value-adding type of activities in your organization. We want to save you money, of course, and time equals money also. And we want to put you first. We are very proud of the way we treat our customers, and customer experience is super important, and the support that we can give you. So hopefully when Jackie shows you the product, you'll also come to the conclusion that we will save you time, save you money, and definitely put you first. So some of the challenges that you might face and that we've come across during all our interactions with different customers, and it's basically stuff that causes you pain. And we really want to help you to address those pain. So things, I think with Corona that happened, still happening in the last few months, it really put a spotlight on the fact that the workforce is now moving to be a remote workforce. The work from home and work-life balance is really important these days. And for those organizations that do not have any software that you can actually access from a browser or online or from the cloud, it's become a real challenge. And especially from an HR point of view, there's a lot of leave requests and all those type of things that could not be processed. So some of the challenges is that you just do not have a system which your employees can access. And we'll show you a little bit about the employee self-service functionality a bit later. Also the heavy administrative burden. So when you are dealing with your employees, they want to put in some leave, they want to update their personal details, they want to view their payslip, etc., and they're not able to do it. So a lot of organizations still make use of paper-based methods where you need to fill in the form and the form gets lost and all of those things, or there's back and forth emails. So you send it to HR and you hope that somebody will respond and you're not 100% sure if it has been updated. If you have a responsive system or you can see this progress, it also makes the employees feel much more comfortable, especially when it gets when it's to do with salaries, because that's always a very sensitive topic. And then another thing is a single view of your payroll data and employee data from a central point. I mean, sometimes it takes quite a lot of time to get spreadsheets together, to work with the data, to get something useful that you can use, especially if you're an HR manager or you need to report to an HR director or to a CFO, whoever. So that's something that we found is really a burden. You know, if you want to report on employee equity or those type of things. It takes quite a lot of time to get something useful from the system. Then what we also found is people do not have HR functionality. So you maybe have a Sage VIP payroll that runs your payroll, but there's no HR functionality. And people are your number one asset. We know that, and it's something that's been said many times, but it's very, very true. So you want to make sure that your employees are engaged, but you also spend time in developing them, because that's where you also get a return from what you put into them. So stuff like performance management, learning and skills management, job profiling, all of those things are very important. And especially the new generation workforce, they want to have this interaction, and they want to make sure that you care for them and that they feel that they are loved at the end of the day. So performance management and those things that shows that you have a keen interest in your employees is super important in this day and age. So Sage 300 People also brings that functionality to the table. Other things are manual processes. So whether it's Sage X3 ERP or Sage 300 People, we find that there is loads of manual processes. So Excel and paper-based stuff and things that just takes a lot of time to process. So when you maybe need to update some of the payroll information or the balances or the payroll itself into the ERP, into the GL, that's also a manual process. So we want to make that a smooth type of process with the API connected. You know it's gone through. You don't even have to worry about it or do any reconciliation between your payroll system and the ERP system. So that's also one pain point. Then there's also a compliance burden, like I said, with employee equity and those things that you need to report on. That's legislative and it's a statutory requirement. Sage 300 People helps you to get all of those things right and ready in a report, and it's literally with a press of a button almost that you can get this information. So a lot of our customers struggle with getting that data and getting it before 3 months it's over. Then also another thing is there's multiple copies of your payroll data. So with Sage VIP and other products, you've got to make a copy. Each company is on a different version or on a different database, and you don't really have an overview of all your companies and all your employees in a single view. So if you want to do reporting on a group basis, for instance, then it's quite a challenge to get all of this data together. And it also, again, takes a lot of time. And then finally, reporting, management reporting or reporting for statutory purposes is just so easy to get on Sage 300 People. And usually it's quite a bit of a struggle. Even employee numbers or demographics and those type of things is a struggle. So in a day and age where data is king in a way, we don't want people to struggle with getting data and getting cool reports out there. So we want to make your life easier. And for that, I'm going to hand over to Jackie, and she will be showing you the product and how this product can actually address some of these issues, hopefully all of them, that we've just chatted about today. So over to you, Jackie.
Thank you for that introduction, Johan. I really appreciate that. So what I'm going to take you through today is through our Sage 300 People application. Now, you would see this is the ESS application. Just before I log in, I just want to give you some information about this. This is, you can actually use Active Directory for that single sign-on experience. You can also sign in with an OTP PIN. So we also have that two-factor authentication with the ESS application that you see. Also, what I would like to mention about the ESS application is that it also comes with a mobile app that gives you the ability to view your payslips, to view your personal details, and also to apply and approve leave as a manager. Now, without further ado, I'm going to log in. The first thing that you'll see is I'm logging in as a manager, and you can see that I have welcome as Mr. Spielberg, and then I'm also working as Mr. Spielberg. Now, this first function that I'm mentioning is also impersonation. So you can, as a manager, impersonate people that do not have access to a laptop. Now, I did mention the mobile app, and this is also to make the leave processing a lot easier. But yeah, if a person still doesn't have a mobile app or has a smartphone, a manager can impersonate that specific employee. And then I just want to go to a transaction where you can see there I have quite a lot of transactions. Now, to a month, here you would see I am Mr. Spielberg, and if I hover over a specific leave transaction, I can actually see my team members' leave application. So you would be able to see all team members' leave application on a calendar. Now, this calendar can also be exported to an iCal file. So you can export in a specific period. You can also view your calendar in a yearly, monthly, or weekly format. And this also is just more interactive that makes it easier to interact with your employees and see where your employees are. You can also, if you want to see your own leave calendar, it's a simple switch by just clicking on that button. And there you'll see I only have my own leave application applies in here. Now, another thing that I can do directly from this leave calendar is you would see it hovers that I'm currently having. So there you can see it makes the little 11 a bigger number. So this means that it's actually linking to my actual system date as well. Now in here, what I would also be able to do is I can apply directly from the leave calendar. I can apply from my mobile app, or I can click on the navigation top bar here and click the apply button. Another thing that I just quickly want to mention before I do the leave application is you will see as a manager, I also have this interactive dashboard tool. Now here I can hover over a specific transaction and I can actually see who's the culprit or who's the person who's been taking the most leave. And this is specifically to my team members in the last year. So it shows me all the leave calendars. Now, if I go back to this little to this widget, you can see I only have sick and annual leave. If I had other leave types, every leave type is color-coded. So if I had other transactions, it will also display here with the color-coded transaction. Now, I'm going to click on an application in here. Once I click the apply button, you can see I can just go and I can view my different leave types. As soon as I select my annual leave, it shows me how many days I have available and how many days will be deducted. Now, I know that a lot of you work with time and attendance solutions. Now, this can also integrate into your time and attendance. Now, this is, we have an API tool that can use that integrates with those two systems. So it depends which transaction you actually would like to use. So it can go upstream or downstream. Then also you would see that I'm taking leave for 1 day, but let's say, for example, I'm only taking half a day. Then you can override this with only half to make it half a day. You can also, so this is also what we refer to as where you can capture fractions. Now you can specify the fractions that you would like to that you allow in your company. So if you even allow hours to days, we can also that accordingly. Also, another thing that you can see is the note attachment at the bottom. Now, specifically with sick leave, there in our South African legislation, sick leave after 2 days, you need to submit a note. Now, actually make that a mandatory transaction. So as soon as I select my leave type and I change it to sick leave, let's make it until the 13th. There, I need to attach before I would be able to submit my transaction. So again, I can actually make this mandatory that 3 days you need to submit a note before the leave transaction can go through. Here you can see again, as soon as I've changed my leave type, that it actually shows the different leave available. Then I just want to show you another feature of the leave is all my leave balances. Now, under my leave balances here, you can see I have all my different leave balances. It will show me, so it now hovers over annual leave. It shows me my entitlement, and it shows me when my cycle will end. Then it also shows me my carryover limit. Now, this is the 6 month, again, according to BCEA, that we have to take that leave additional. You can configure this leave type, so if it's more beneficial to your employees and you have additional leave days, you can actually configure the leave type accordingly. So we can do very complex leave calculations, where we can even say we could link it to a calculation, we can link it to years in service, we can even link it to a specific job grade, and then it will actually tell you what your entitlement would be. Also, what we would be able to do is, let's say, for example, a specific period. So in your period, this is a high volume period, especially in retail industries. So in retail, your busiest period is over December, and you can't actually allow the employees to take leave during December. Then you can actually, under the leave policy, you can populate that this is a restricted leave period, and then it will give, you can actually stop the employees to take that leave, or it will give them a warning. So it can then be given under discretionary purposes, but it depends on your business rules. Then the next function that I'm going to go to is our claims. Now, claims is also part of the core module. So this is part of the payroll module that you have. And here you can submit any type of expense claims. Now you can see I have various options there at the top. Now you could do a normal type of overtime claim. So this is where you'll put in the number of hours, you could put in your date work, you could put in a comment, and you can attach the supporting documentation. So yeah, I could put in 4 hours, and I would like to say that this was, I worked 4 hours on the public holiday, and then I can add a claim line, and I can say, but I also worked on Sunday, and I worked 2 hours there, and that was on the 9th, and I can add that. So you can see now it adds to the total number of hours, and I can submit this as a claim line going through for approval. Now, everything that I'm showing you under the leave or under ESS follows a workflow approval. Just with those workflow approvals, at the top, you can see I have different functions. So for each different function, you can set up a different workflow approval. This means that you don't have one workflow approval that you use throughout. So legacy systems, we basically have one workflow, and then you need to use it for all functions. So it normally just goes to the direct manager. You can actually do your workflow that goes to the correct person. So let's say, for example, even a specific expense claim. So let's go back to my bar where I can see all my expense claims. So let's say we have a travel expense claim. Under my travel expense claim, I have various travel items. So I can have a car rental, I have flights, I have hotel, I have meals, I have taxi fare. Now let's say I'm going to do a car rental, and this car rental needs to go to my specific finance person. I can actually specify that this claim line follows that workflow approval. So per specific definition that you have, you can actually set up a different workflow approval. So this is a very flexible and configurable system that allows you to do that. So it can set up, you can use it for very complex calculations. There I can put in my car rental company. So I'll just put in Avis. I'll say I rented it for 2 days and the cost was $700. And now I can attach my supporting documentation, and I can make this mandatory as well, so that if there's no supporting documentation, you won't be able to click OK. You can also apply, under the expense claims, you can also apply business rules. Now, these business rules are something like, for example, a claim capping policy. So let's say you have a cell phone reimbursement. Under your cell phone reimbursement, you would like the employees to be capped at 700 Rand per month, and you would not like to put in previous claims, so it's only for the current month and also not for future dated claims. So you can actually put in those type of business rules, and it can cap the employee at a specific amount and a quantity. Then you also have a claim approval policy. Now, this is if you have segregation of duties in your company, and let's say, for example, the direct manager is only allowed to approve a subsistence claim of 1,000 Rand. Anything above 1,000 Rand should go to the finance manager for approval. So you can set up that as a approval policy as well in your company. So those are the type of business rules that you can claim in your under claims or under the expense claims that you have. Now, any type of expense claim, so it's with all your earning definitions. And what we have in Sage 300 People is also, we have a function called additional definitions. Now, that additional definitions is, let's say, for example, your company, you're a global company and you often give your employees Forex. And the Forex, you would like that Forex to go through your books. So you would like it to go through to the general ledger, and then through that general ledger, it updates also your ERP system. Now, that's something that you can also configure within Sage 300 People, which you wouldn't be able to do in legacy type of systems. Just something that I want to show you as well with regards to the expense claims is, as an employee, you would be able to see all your expense claims. Sorry, there I have a bug currently. And then I also have, I can also view all my balances. So in here, I can view all my system balances, all my expense claims that I've applied throughout them here, and you can see if a capping policy was applied. So there you can just see the normal type of expense claims that I have. Then the next function, and I think this is very important, this is also where you give your employees access to the system, where you as an HR administrator don't have to run after your employees to make sure that the information is correct. So it's more engaging towards the employees where they can see that their information is correct. And that's the function of My Details. Now, under My Details, we have various functions. We have our personal details, our bank details, our driver's licenses, our family details, our beneficiaries, and our employee transactions. I'm not going to cover all of these. I'll just cover the personal details and I'll talk through the others. And employee transactions. Just with personal details, this is where you can make changes to all your biographical details as an employee. So you can, again, you can see under my function, I've actually grayed it out. This is where I don't want the employee to make changes to it, but I can allow them to make changes to their work address if I wanted to. But you can hide specific functions. Under this, you could say, I am not allowed to change my ID number, I'm not allowed to change my tax number, but I can, for example, update my marital status. So this is what you can actually, so this again, the system has very detailed access control, and also within that, we call it role-based security. So this is where you can actually give a specific user access to change only one field if you wanted to do that. So that's under My Details. So you can see there's your biographical details, and at the bottom you have your address details that you can make changes to, your contact details, and then you can also add other contact details. Then we have the bank details. So bank details, I know that a lot of companies don't want their employees to make changes to their bank details. This is, again, if you don't want them to make changes, you can simply just give them rights to view it. So you can see here, for example, I can't submit. So again, I don't have access to change anything in here, but I can just view it as personal details. Or I could just view my changes and I have to go physically in to change it. So, but again, like I've mentioned, it does follow a workflow process. So it does follow an approval process. So it's not like an employee can just change their bank details and then it's changed and they don't have record of it. So all the previous bank details, it will show them under the bank details, under the employee self-service. They can see the previous bank details that they've had. And then also under the system, in this main application, it records all the bank details. So it records unlimited history. So none of the bank details are deleted. Again, this is different from our legacy systems that only record 5 bank details, the history of the last 5. So this records unlimited. So if you have those employees, and we often get them, that change their bank details every month, you can start monitoring this and you can see where are the bank detail changes. We also have a bank details report that can be system generated to the main user, to the HR applicator, or it can actually be to the manager as well and to the employee. So you can actually send that report on a monthly basis so you can see who are the culprits that change that. So that is another function that we have in the system. But I'll get to that. I'm too excited. Then so there you have your driver's licenses. So this is, again, as a system administrator, you can upload your driver's licenses, and it also has a driver's license expiry notification. So that expiry notification is where it can actually send out a notification to a specific employee, to the manager, and let's say to you have a specific person that deals with all the updates of driver's license if you're in a transport company. Then you can actually send out those notifications 3 months prior to the expiry date, and then you know that you're always up to date and you don't pay that additional penalties. Then family details. Family details is where a user, an employee, so as an employee, I can update my family members. Now, family details and beneficiaries go hand in hand. So this is where you can update your family details. I'll show you. So here, for example, I have Emma Roberts, Zac Efron, Mrs. E. Spielberg, and there I have all my children loaded. So there I have my children and my wife, and there you can see this is my spouse, and this is also my emergency contact. Now this ties in with your beneficiaries. So within your beneficiaries, you can then go and you can say, these are, I belong to the Liberty Life Provident Fund, and this is how my beneficiaries are going to split. So my Provident Fund, if it pays out or if something happens to me, this is the function that I can actually, this is how it's going to split. And I can also attach a document in here that I can download. So I would be able to attach a specific document. The user can download it, they can complete the form online, and then attach it as supporting documentation, and it can go to the respective approval, then that can then update the Provident Fund. Then the next function, this speaks to HR. And as we know it, HR is becoming more and more important in our day-to-day activities. We need to engage with our users. We need to engage with making it easier for our users to interact with the system and not do these mundane processes. So what we can do in here is what we have employee transactions. So employee transactions is where we can actually give the employees access to training. So this is where you can, as a main administrator or as the HR administrator, you would be able to upload all your training dictionaries, so your full training dictionary, and then a user can come in and they can request a training course. So I would be able to submit a request. I can select from the existing dictionary that is here, or let's say, for example, I can't find anything in here, then I could say I would like to do Excel on steroids, and I would be able to select from the providers. Again, there's a drop-down list that I can select that, and then you can see I can actually just submit. Now, as it goes through the workflow approval, the person that has the I would like to say your STF in most organizations, or you can actually, so it can be your skills facilitator, or it can actually be just your main HR administrator that has the administrative rights. They would be able to then put in what is the plan date, and then also what is the duration, what is the, and then they would be able to update this. And then the best thing about this is that actually, as soon as there's a plan date, then it updates your WSP. As soon as you complete it and you put in the tender date, then it completes your ATR. So this ties in with your skills module that we have as, again, as South African legislation, where equity and skills form part of the statutory HR components that we have. Then the same with qualifications. So again, in my qualifications, I can again do a request. So I would be able to submit a request. I can select from the dictionary that's available, or I can put in another course that I have, and then I can also say whether this is my highest qualification. So there you can see if it has your highest qualification, you have like a little hat that links to it, and you can actually put in all the details that ties into this. So because qualification and training forms hand in hand, you would also be able, so you can see that these two are exactly the same in the way that you can process them. Then we've spoken about the payslip function. So I've also spoken about it under where you have it available on the mobile app. Now, the great thing about this payslips is if you have, I know that a lot of you also make use of info slips, so you can continue making use of info slips, but with this ESS platform, you have the ability to give your employees access to their payslip. You can also, as a payroll administrator, I know that this often happens, that you would roll over into the next month and then you all of a sudden you realize, oh, I didn't release the payslips to ESS. Now, you don't need to roll back and then actually or restore backup as in legacy systems again. All that you need to do is you just go to your actual company rule and you go to the previous period, you release those payslips, and then you can release it. So you don't need to have that, restore the backup, get your IT, restore everything. It's a lot less, administrative function to deal with. It's easier to maintain, and the reason of this is because of the SQL nature of the system. So it's written in C#.net, and you can actually view unlimited history. So from the day that you start using the system up until, I wanted to say 2020 because it feels so far, but up until 2050, you can actually record details. So you have a lot of details that you can actually maintain in the system. So unlimited history. Another thing that people ask, and I think this is a very important function, is with regards and with the POPI Act being, promulgated now, and it's part of our legal functions that we need to comply with. Now, as Sage, we comply with GDPR standards, and that is because we're a UK company, so GDPR very similar to the POPI. It's just a global function that we need to comply with. So we do make sure that we are compliant, and we, I think at the end of August, we will be able to provide you with an ISO 27001 certificate. I'll just get the dates correct on when we will be able to provide you with that, but we do comply with all the standards. However, what you as an organization, you also need to maintain your own data. So as an organization, you also need to protect that data, and you as a business need to comply. So we can comply from a software perspective, but you as a business also need to comply. So there we have our payslip. Now, again, with regards to this payslip, you can also, this payslip can be populated in 11 official languages. So for South Africa, we have all 11 official languages that can be displayed for the payslip purposes. So you can select your language. Just speaking about languages, if you want, we can also change here. So the ESS can also be displayed in various languages. So we have Afrikaans, English, we have Portuguese, we have French, and then we also have Arabic, because this system, and when it's in Arabic, it's actually written from right to left. So it changes the entire way. So you have the ability to do, so all is available in Sage 300 People. If you have a specific other language, for example, the system has Unicode translation. So that means that if you translate the entire system, so the entire system can be translated because of that Unicode translation that is available, you can do it. That is just, and do the training manuals as well, but that would just be at additional cost. So this is something that is possible, but if you're really looking for that and you have companies, especially, if you work in Africa, then they require specific language, then we can actually do that for you. Then just another thing that I wanted to mention is here under the reports. So everything I've shown you up until now is actually part of the core, except the employee transaction that forms part of the statutory HR modules. But here you also have the reports. So reports is, again, here you can make specific reports available to either the employee or to the manager or to both, or we can actually just make it available to a specific role. So again, this takes away that burden of where HR needs to provide reports to the entire business. Here you can actually display reports to ESS, and the user would be able to download the report from ESS. So this can be downloaded, it can be printed, or it can be emailed to a specific person. So here you have the ability to do that as well. Then another function is free text workflows, and free text workflows is where you would like to add a workflow to a function that's not currently in the system. So you would like the system to, so for example, let's say promotion. You would like to do a promotion and you would like to follow a workflow process with that promotion, then you would be able to use free text workflow for that. So you can attach a document, and then this document can be signed off by various parties, and then from there you can actually just send it off, and then it's also recorded in the system. Now, additional modules that we now, before I go to the additional modules, I just quickly want to go through my tax certificates. So this is also, you can also view tax certificates in here. And you can see I have the previous year's tax certificates from 2012, so up until 2016. So again, it's the same principle as the pay slips. If you forgot to release, you can release, and you can release tax certificates. If you had a resubmission on specific employees, you can also release that for only those employees. So in here, you can view, here's our tax certificate. Again, like I've mentioned, you can download, you can print, and you can email it if you want to email it to your own private email and not to your work email that's linked to ESS. So that is available also on the ESS platform. Then I'm going to speak to performance. Now, there's two modules that we have in here. So there's job requisition and performance. These are additional modules that you can add as part of your ESS. And the first one that I'm going to speak to is performance management. Now, performance management is, and as you know, this is becoming more crucial in businesses. Now, the performance management that we have is very, very flexible. Now, I'm just going to switch to my administrative function just to show you what we have. So here you would see we have a performance template. Now, this template is, you can set up various templates. You can set it up for specific companies, you can set it up for specific departments, you can even set it up for specific positions if you wanted to. But what this template does, it actually starts your performance contracting process. So performance contracts, and this is very different from your normal, just where you have your review sent out and then the employees complete it. So a performance contract is basically where you have an agreement between the employee and the manager. So this is where you can actually, so you can set up the performance template, which would be an HR function. HR can set the template, so there's a standard template that they can follow. And then from that template, it goes to the manager. The manager can add initiatives, or the managers can add KPIs. So just to go to the contract criteria to show you that. So here I can, for example, I can add in specific questions. I can put in a new objective. I can say what is the norm, and I can actually add a weight. So you can create it very flexible. Now, this is just a free text format. You can also do it where you have specific KPIs and KPIs, and then you can also link targets and other measurable items to this. So this is where you can actually do various different options. Another thing that I want to show you under the available criteria, let's just quickly go to another one. Wow, and open. So here you can see, for example, I can do a competency review, I can do a performance review, I can even do my company values review, and then I have this free text questionnaires that I can answer. So here you can see I have 2 questionnaires that I can all make part of this specific performance contract. So this is all part of one contract that I can send to the employee. Now you can make it, you can even do individual contracts. So if you wanted to do a contract for only one specific person and you would only like to do it on competencies, you can do that as well. So it's very, very flexible in that regard. So just to show you here, for example, there I have my competency, and then under my adaptability, this is the area that it's going to maintain the effectiveness of when experiencing change. What is my target? And then, so here you can see there's my norm. So this is the rating scale that you use, and we also have very flexible rating scales. So you can even do a decimal rating scale. You can do a you could do image rating scale, or you can do your normal 1 to 5, 1 to 4, however you want. So it's very flexible. And then another thing that I want to mention is the rating scale per area that you see, for example. So under competencies, performance, values, under these 2 questionnaires, you can have a different rating scale for each of those elements. And that if you want to combine them, you can use a combined rating scale to combine all of these results together. But let me show you how a performance contract will look as an employee. So if I go in here, you can see I have quite a lot of performance reviews. I'll go to Denzel Washington. There you can see I have my performance, my competencies, and my specialist behavior. So if I go to my performance, I can expand on my performance or on my contributions. I can expand on my groups, and there you can see there's my rating scale, and I have the ability to put in a comment. So you can see the rating scale and how it can change, and then it will combine all of these results. As soon as I complete this, see that it will tell me that I have now ticked that little box. So, and you would see at the bottom, I would not be able to submit. It's grayed out, but I can save and come back and then complete it. So this is the performance assessment that you can have. Now, under the performance reports, you can also view specific performance reports. You can view your performance contracting reports, you can view your results reports, and you can also export these results to Excel. So it's very, very flexible. Now, another thing that ties into our performance is the development plans. So if I go to my development plan, I can actually see what is my short-term goals. So this is a free text field, as well as my long-term goals. But if I speak to my performance development, this is where it will tie into that specific performance that I've completed. So I can select the performance contract that I've just completed, and then I can actually say, what am I going to develop? How am I going to develop that area? So which area am I going to develop it? Why am I doing this? By when? What's the actual outcome? What is the completed date? And then you can see that my status, as soon as I've completed it, it will await approval. So it goes for approval process under my development plan. Now, you can also set up that workflow, so a specific workflow that ties into that. So that's under my performance development. Then you can see I also have other areas that I can do. So I can do current position development. So just to show you quickly. So if I go into my current position, here I'm the MD of the company. The area that I would like to develop is my performance. What would I like to develop is my financial aspect. So this is my financial KPA. How am I going to develop that? Through a training course. And the training course that I'm going to do is I need to improve on my basic Word skills. So this is what you can do under the current position development. So this ties into your job profile that is embedded in the main application. Then you also have succession role development. So under succession role development, here I can also say I am the current MD. The area that I would like to develop is my competency. How am I going to develop that is through time management. How am I going to do it? Through mentoring. And so this is why, because I'm always 5 minutes late. So my desired outcome is to be early. So this is an example of what you can do under the position development. Then you have personal and compulsory development. Now you can see it's similar to all the other fields. So I'm going to select a new one. So under my personal and compulsory development, I'm going to say, how am I going to develop this? So again, I have my training, qualification, mentoring, self-study, and other. So I have these options that I can choose from. I'm going to do it through a qualification. What qualification? So I could search for my qualification lists that I have. So I would like to do a bachelor in information technology. I'm going to select that, and there I can actually now save, and it will await approval. So you can now see, as soon as I've done that, it now says awaiting. So this is examples under your personal, so this is all under your development plan. Now, because I'm a team manager, you would also see under the drop down, I have my own development, but I can also view my team's development plans. So if I wanted to view what Mr. Sean Connery, or I've selected Mr. Will Smith, I could see what is his specific personal and compulsory development. So you would be able to see your team members' view as well. Then the last function that I'm going to speak to is our job requisitions. And then I just quickly want to go into the main application. And then I'm going to give some time for questions. The job requisitions. So under my job requisitions is here I have the ability to do a specific type of requisition. So I can select, for example, I would like to do a manager, a general staff, directors, or executive, or I could just select the default. So I'm just going to select the default for now. But here, this is where you speak to your specific, this is where you start the recruitment process. So in here, we have the ability to go and we can select, you have a specific position. So you can actually go and you can search for a position. So again, this speaks to all your positions that are already embedded in. This is to your filled and your vacant position. And this is to draw the detail out of that specific job spec that you already have in your position. Because in your job profile, you already have what KPIs, what training is required, what experience is required. So this just makes it easier so you don't need to write that job spec from start. So let's select my HR manager. Now you can see as soon as I've selected my HR manager, it completes specific areas for me. So it can complete my job title. I can link it to my job grade as well. This person will report to Mr. Chris Rock. And then at the bottom, you can see I also have the ability where it pulls through the job specification and the job requirements. I can then write the motivation, and I have like a little introduction that I can write as well. Then from here, I can just send it for approval. So I would be able to just say submit, and then it will go for approval. You can see I have a preferred start date that I need to complete. So it shows you the mandatory areas that you need to complete before you can submit. So I also need to put in a reference number, and now I have the ability to submit. So from here, it will then go into staff requisition, and the staff requisition is where you can actually print out your job advert that you've basically created your job specification for now, and then you can link it, you can upload that to your recruitment system, or we can tie it in with SkillsMap. So SkillsMap is our e-recruitment system that ties in and then picks up that job requisition, or picks up that staff requisition. So I know that I can talk a lot about ESS. I can show you a lot more, and I can go into a lot more detail. But if you would like to see more, we can definitely arrange a demo with T3T and then take it further. I'll just quickly, before I log out, or I would just like to show you the main application, and that's just the functionality of reports within the system. So we've spoken about how important reports are, and reports can be scheduled. So this is where you don't want the reports to be actually, printed out and where HR has to do that functionality for you. This is where you can actually, from one view, you can view everything, and the HR administrator can receive it every Monday morning in their inbox. They don't even need to go into the system. So that is what the scheduling of the reports is, why it's so powerful. Now, also just quickly, before I go into the reports, we've also mentioned, Johan also mentioned, the ability of everything in one segregated system. So we are in one integrated system. So we have the ability to view all our companies and all our company rules. Now, a company rule is just the frequency in which you get paid. But if you go to your companies, you can see here, for example, I even have a different tax legislation embedded in my company, but I can view everything from one system. So I don't need to log out and have different passwords for the different companies. I can limit this by the security and the detailed access control that we have in the system. So that role-based security that we have, that you can actually limit who can have access to it, but for your CEO that needs to see how the company is performing, and you have different regions and you have different businesses, you can actually combine everything and see it from one view. So that's where you have that ability to do it. And I just want to show you, so there you can see there's all my company rules. If I just select, so I'm going to select all of it. So I'm just going to take that bar there at the top. So there you can see I have 151 records. If I just select, I'm going to deselect all of them now and just select one and say OK, and then search. You can now see I only have 27 records. So now I'm only working with my monthly company. So this is how you can actually change the security, or actually you can view it from a bird's eye view. Now this is also employee grid, and this is where you can also do a quick report. So if you want to see who's in which department, I can simply just drag my department, and there I can see there's all my employees that currently are in my admin department. There I have all my different departments, and I can export this to Excel or to any other format, or I can even go print preview, and I can say, I'm going to email this to my financial director in a password protected. So there you can see I can add a password security to this, and then email this to my manager so that they can see who's in which department. Then I'm just going to go into the reporting. So what I would like to show you is Sage 300 People has a lot of standard reports, over 200 standard reports, and that's all part of our normal all reports function. Then we also have additional report writer functionalities, and that's under our dynamic reports. And then we also have a functionality which we call data exporter. And that data exporter is where you can write reports to Excel, but you can also make it part of your standard reports. So there's various reporting functionalities that are available in the system. But what I would like to show you, and that is powerful, is our financial analyzer. Now, in our financial analyzer,
Jackie, sorry
yes?
to interrupt. I can give you another 30 seconds or so before we unfortunately need to wrap this up.
Yes.
Everybody booked their times until 10 o'clock. So yes, please. Thank you so much.
No problem. So just the payroll analyzer that I want to show you is, just to save time, I'm just going to select a specific one that I've already done. So there I can select my bonus comparison, and I can preview my reports. So I'm just going to take 30 seconds. And here you can see I've previewed the December results for each under my basic salary, just to see how they've increased over the past years. And I can also view this in a chart. So this is the financial analyzer, and this is the type of reports that you're able to generate from the system. Okay, and I'm done.
Jackie has now showed you how you can save time and save money. You know, some of the things that's really important if you look at benefits of the system, it's quite easy and quick to deploy. A lot of these systems take quite a long time to deploy and implement, but this one really we can implement quite fast, and you can get quite a quick return on your investment at the end of the day. It's a one-stop shop, so it provides you with HR, with payroll, and with employee self-service functionality. There's an unlimited history. There's an employee record for life. So when an employee leaves the company and returns, you can just activate that employee record again, and you can make use of that. Like Jackie just showed us, you can have all your companies in the group consolidated onto one platform, and managers can view it from our employee self-service portal. They can review those type of reports on an ongoing and rolling basis, which is very powerful and saves you quite a bit of time. We also have API integration. So this can link to a ERP system or a time and attendance system or any other system that you would like it to speak to. And then you also have the option to host it in the cloud, or you can have it on premise. So that is your decision. How easy is it to move from my current system, whether it's Sage VIP or another system? And it is quite easy. We've done this many times, and there's a whole data migration path that's already been mapped and everything. So it's really a quick and painless exercise to get you onto this new powerful system. So I would like to thank you for your time. If anybody's got more questions, please let us know. You've got our contact details. We can also do a more detailed demonstration or see how this product can actually fit within your organization. I think that's very important, is, can it work for you? So you are very welcome to contact us. We are more than willing to assist with more questions. Feel free to contact us at any time, and we can explore your requirements a bit further.